less than a half hour from here, there is lots of snow. And recently I've been reading something about snowflakes. Those are the things you can do when you're retired. I found out that a snowflake is full of surprises. I didn't know that every snowflake there ever was has 6 points, 6 branches. There's a star on the American flag has 5. Scientists know why there are 6, because that's the way ice crystals tend to form. Another surprise, if you didn't already know it, that the design of every snowflake is different. There's no 2 alike. Apparently in the history of snow, there's never been 2 identical snowflakes. And scientists don't know why that is. It's a mystery. And we're in for another surprise if we look really closely at a snowflake. Each one has a beautiful, delicate design, like the finest lace. And it's very hard to see without a magnifying glass or a microscope. But those designs are perhaps among the most beautiful things that you and I will ever see. Problem is they're so tiny, they melt fast. We flick them off our shoulder, perhaps not realizing what a beautiful creation each of them is. One would think that with such a beautiful, intricate design, a snowflake would be built around maybe a piece of gold or a diamond, but not so. And the biggest surprise about a snowflake is that God and nature built this magnificent snowflake around a little piece of dust that's floating in the sky. A worthless piece of dust. An unlikely thing to be surrounded by such beauty and mystery. And without the dust, there could be no snowflake. So it turns out that an ordinary piece of dust is much more important than we thought. The Creator takes that little particle and surrounds it with beauty and mystery. The snowflake tells us that our God is a God of surprises. In fact, scientists tell us that each of us is really made up from dust from an explosion of some ancient star. That the tiny atoms that make up you and me are quite literally stardust. The Creator took all of those atoms, brought them together, surrounded them with His mystery, and there we are, created in God's image and likeness. See how God always surprises us. And then one day, as the scriptures call it, in the fullness of time, God took one of us human persons, spoke His creative word, flooded that person with the divine presence. And then that person was born in Bethlehem of Judea. It was unlikely that the Son of God would take human form, become one of us. The Creator becoming one of His creations. But you see, our God surprises us. All the natural things around us, I think, can teach us much about our faith and about how important you and I really are. we remember fondly Jesus pointing to the lilies growing in the field and saying that if God dresses those flowers so beautifully, how much more God will care for you. And today he might say, if God gives such beauty to a snowflake, so much more he will care for you. Jesus, the Word of God made flesh, was born in unlikely circumstances. Not in a palace, not surrounded by important people, not in a hospital. The story of his birth reveals disruption and discomfort, a suspicious pregnancy, a young couple forced to travel so close to their expected birth date, and an awkward setting for the delivery. There's no room in the inn. They're shown a stable. The shepherds, the lowest class of people in that society, are the first ones to hear about his birth. The manger was a food box for animals. The God of surprises is closer to us than we think. He is there in the nitty-gritty experiences of our lives. Tonight we are touched once again by the mystery of Christmas. And perhaps we should try to more fully be aware of the way God continues to visit us, to touch us, to announce the good news to us. Today he comes still in unexpected disguises, in strange circumstances, in unusual people and places. So often we don't recognize his coming into our lives, because you and I tend to see the surface of things, the obvious. And then we miss the opportunity to experience the nearness of our God. We're told in the Bible that those who witnessed the birth of this baby were amazed at the signs they saw. And that should be the attitude that we bring to Christmas holidays. An attitude of wonder and surprise. We should begin again to try to recognize the presence of God in the ordinary people and things around us. In the innocence of our infants. In the questionings of our 7-year-olds. In the energy and restlessness of our teenagers. To see the divine presence in the silent embrace of lovers. In the courage and generosity of young married people. In the freedom and dedication of young adults. To see the presence of God in the wisdom and patience of parents. In the gift-giving of artists. The industrious creativity of the business person. To be aware of the presence of God in the gifted hands and hearts and minds of those in the medical profession. In the fascinating agility of legal minds. To see God's presence in the peaceful strength of the aging. The quiet resignation of the suffering. So much of the darkness and despair of the world, and I think so much of the darkness and despair you and I might experience, comes from the sense of God being so far away, absent from us. We might think that God does not care, does not hear our cries, does not feel our pain. But we so easily miss the moments of God's rebirth in our lives. Christmas is such a powerful, intimate reminder that once we start believing them, we're never alone. Once we accept the miracle of God made human, then every part of human life takes on a new dimension, a Jesus dimension, if you will. Everything can be touched by His Spirit of peace, of love, of hope. And only then will the words of the prophet Isaiah take meaning. People who walked in darkness have seen a great